And we're live. Hello out there, everybody on YouTube and Facebook. Welcome to this AuthorTube panel today. You'll observe I've got some great guests to talk to today for the topic of dream book events. So woohoo! We can't have events in real life safely right now, but this is why we're dreaming big, and I'm looking forward to diving into some interesting ideas that we may all have. So I'd just like to give my guests an opportunity. We can go clockwise around to just introduce ourselves, say where we're from, what our channel's about, and what we like to write. So Katie, why don't you start?
All right. Oh, hi, I'm Katie Solitis. I run Spilling Ink. We talk to authors every week about what they do, why they do, and how they do what they do. And I'm also an urban fantasy paranormal romance author with 6 book series under my belt and more to come.
Woohoo! We love the more to come. Thank you. Tracy.
Hi, I am Tracy Momey, and I am a freelance graphic designer and author, and I have 5 books in the marketplace right now with a new release on the way in January. I write realistic fiction, and I also read a lot. So I've recently started a YouTube channel, probably at the beginning of the summer, where I read all genres of books, and then I just, tell my thoughts about them. So I'm just so excited to be here and can't wait till we dive into this conversation.
Yes. Thank you. Anita, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Hi, I'm Anita. I go under the name A.F. Stewart. I'm an author, a graphic artist, a podcaster. I write horror and horror fantasy. I host a show, Between the Pages Book Chat, on my own channel, and I host another podcast, Words That Kill, on Go Indie Now. And I also write poetry, and I do a lot of things, and I'm way too busy for my own good.
Yes, and she's a super fun chat buddy when Go Indie Now is happening all the time. So thank you, Anita. And Christy, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christy Stratus, and on my channel, which you can find at youtube.com/Christy Stratus, I tried to keep up with uploading Lurking for Legends, which I do with my co-host, Richard H. Stevens. He's an epic fantasy author. And we basically talk to people of all walks of the publishing industry. We've had on voice talent for audiobooks and poets and all kinds of fantasy authors and historical and just everyone. It's a lot of fun. And in terms of what I write, I am mainly a historical suspense author. I write in the Victorian era. And my historical suspense series is called the Dark Victoriana Collection, which has 2 novels and 2 short stories so far, but it is ever growing. And also historical fantasy on Kindle Vella, where I write Grimoire Society of Dark Acts. So that's it.
Awesome. And I was so excited to learn why you have the lurking in Lurking for Legends, because I thought it was trying just for the euphony, and then I learned that the cat, Richard's cat, named Lurker somehow, and I thought, oh, okay, there's another.
He nicknamed the cat Lurker because the cat was always watching him write from like up on a bookshelf, just staring down at him. So then he named one of his dragons Lurker. So that's where it comes from.
Yeah, nice. So we've got Easter eggs, and we've got backstories, and we've got fascinating channels. So I've listed all the people's channels in the chat as well as in the description box. Feel free to subscribe because it's free. And I'm just gonna start diving in. So who had a dream book event set outdoors? No, I'm the only one? Oh my gosh. Okay. Tracy, I see you're muting, which is like best practice, so thank you. But go ahead, start us off with what does your dream book event look like?
Oh my God. So I'm going to go first. Am I going to set the bar high or low? I guess it remains to be seen.
High.
I guess it remains to be seen. Okay, well, first, before I get into my dream book event, I want to share the reason why I, chose this. To me, it's like the pinnacle of writing success would be to have one of my books adapted for television or a movie, right? So I'm from Houston, and one of the venues that I was thinking, we have a big theater here. We have a pretty decent sized theater district, but like having it at the Alley Theater, or even if we did something like in New York, the Gershwin Theater, near Broadway, But the whole thing, the vibe would be like a red carpet event at this theater, right?
Ooh.
So when people come in, there would be a red carpet. There would be like photographers and paparazzi, like, you know, the celebrity award show. I usually have a color scheme with my books. So the decor, when you walk in to like the lobby of the place, there would be drapes and silks and things, you know, all over the venue.
Nice.
Yeah, there will be large, high quality posters of my book cover, and you know, those lamps that project images on the wall. We'd have that everywhere. There would be I would have like someone like Hans Zimmer to put together a theme for my book. So when people are walking in, there will be a quartet playing the music, and there will be art installations incorporating my book, maybe some celebrities, because we want photo ops, right? Because you need people to take pictures with stuff to post on social media.
Oh my God, yes.
So, and then there would be, of course, food and drink, maybe a signature drink named after my book with, you know, being passed around the venue. But the big event comes when the doors open and we go into the main theater. There would be, I always have like a playlist for all of my books. So I would have a band, a live band playing some of the songs from the playlist as people, you know, file in and take their seats.
Is this,
and I'm just looking at my notes.
Is this a playlist for when you write the book that you're going to be using when you have the publicity?
Not necessarily. I have like inspiration when I'm writing, but I normally put it together after the fact, something that kind of goes along with the chapter. Cool. Yeah. So then I'd have a mistress of ceremony who would be the Academy Award winning Viola Davis. She would come out, and then she would set up first the screening of my book trailer that's going to be Hollywood produced. So everyone will watch the book trailer. And then Viola would come back and she would introduce Oprah, who's going to interview me for the book on stage in front of a live audience. But this is the big wow factor. Up from the bottom of the stage, there's a big book, right? It's my book with my cover, and it opens just like a book, and I come out of the book.
Like a cake. When they
introduce me, I'm coming out of the book, and then you know, we start our conversation. And midway through, instead of me reading an excerpt from the book, we have the Academy Award winning actors, Halle Berry and Mahershala Ali. They actually depict the scene from the book because it's a Broadway stage. Why not? Why not?
I love it. I love it.
So yeah, it would just be over the top and ridiculous, and people would be sitting there like, you know, taking pictures and sharing on social. Nice. And of course, everyone would leave with a copy of the book and this wonderful experience.
That's amazing. That is in several aspects very familiar to my imagination. That really is classy as it gets, yes. And then saying, now I want to make signature drinks for all of my favorite books.
It's a must now. We must do this.
Do you have a chosen liquor that is in your signature drink that you know?
It has to be something sparkly. We got to have a note of champagne in there. So just something sparkly, you know, and I'm pretty good. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Your vision board is crystal clear, JD says. Yeah. I love it. I love it. That is great. Okay, so I thought to contrast a little bit, we'd go to like people's experiences of what they've done that they've learned from. So we've got a red carpet experience and celebrities and lots of buzz. Is there anyone who has had an experience where that was lacking and they can like recall for us like the moment when they realized, oh, I should have done? Because that's kind of, it's good to have lessons learned. I can definitely weigh in on that one if no one else does. Okay, so I'll go ahead. So my last book launch actually is one that I have learned a lot from. There's a lot of other stuff going on at the end of 2019, and I was very focused on getting this third in the trilogy book out and having it hosted by the independent bookstore that I worked at because it was going to be the last event that they were ever going to have because they were closing. So I was looking for a job. I was sad about the bookstore closing. I was like just out in terms of creative ideas for events because I'd been doing it for the bookstore and other people's events. And so I had this big event and then I was like, okay, and now I don't have to think about that anymore. And so all that momentum that I like played up and like got people to talk about, like flat, just flat, no long tail. And I looked at that a year later during the pandemic going, oh, yeah, that wasn't a great idea. So there you go. There's the opposite. It was a great setup in a small venue, but then I didn't do anything with it to like keep it going. So let that be a lesson. That's the opposite.
Yeah, it's always hindsight that you learn, you know. I guess that's how you learn, in hindsight. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
You know?
Right. Christy, go ahead. What are you gonna say?
About the book event or
yes,
any advice?
Go ahead with the dream book event or advice, either one.
Okay, well, I'll just tack on to what you said, Margaret, in that I haven't had like that kind of a amazing, espresso prosecco. Cool. I haven't done like a big book event like a lot of people probably have, but just to say, you know, Margaret and I tend to do the same kind of thing where I'll have like this big build up to my book, and then as soon as it's over, I just stop posting about it altogether, which is just a big mistake. You know, you can't just let people forget about it. So anyway, I just wanted to tack that on to what you said, Margaret.
Yeah.
It's true virtually too.
Yeah.
So as for my dream book event, I'll tell you where it stems from. A long time ago, it was many years ago, so I don't remember all the details, but there was this really great Halloween-y Edgar Allan Poe type of event that I went to, and they had it in this building where in every room something different was happening. And in like the central room, they had these like a drinks, snacks type of station, and it was such a good time. You just went kind of like room to room, different kinds of entertainment. It was a lot of fun. So for the Dark Victoriana collection, if you've read any of those books, you probably know that a lot of what's important is the house that most of it will take place, or not most of it, depends on which book you read. Anatomy of a Darkened Heart takes place in like mostly one house. It's supposed to be very claustrophobic. You know, Brotherhood has a similar claustrophobic feel, but like half in a house and half in a locksmith shop. And, you know, the other two short stories have a lot to do with the homes they take place in. So I thought if I could have like a big grand Victorian home, really old, with all the decor and everything, it would be just like it was in the time period. To start, that would be the venue. And then I really love the idea of having these different things going on in different rooms with like a central area that you can go to just kind of hang out or like get drinks or snacks or whatever. So I was thinking like in one room, there would be me, and I'd be like maybe doing signings and maybe some talking and, you know, stuff like that. In another room, maybe it would house like people, actors, like professional actors acting out a particular scene in one of the books or short stories, or maybe multiples of them. And then in another room, there would be something like I've always thought that one or two of my books would, the setting would make a really cool hidden object game. I don't know if you guys play hidden object games. I know that JD does, but it's basically where you're going into these different areas. There's a storyline and everything. It's like a regular video game, and the point is really to find all these different hidden objects and you know, play puzzle games. Yeah, kind of like that. So like okay. I was thinking maybe one room could be something along those lines. I'm not great at coming up with games ideas, but I thought something like that. Or maybe like, you know, letting people play Victorian games, which I did on my channel, these very, very simple Victorian games for Halloween. And they're a lot more fun than I thought they would be.
Oh,
so like
cool.
That could be another room.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another one would be like, you know, there's a big focus in the novels about food and using food from the Victorian era in you know, these two books for manipulation. So some of those meals, I'm sure most people have never eaten, and they are authentic. So there would be another room where you can sit down and sample what the characters have eaten. And like, you know, we can sort of talk about what the scene was and what happened and stuff like that. And then, you know, other ones could, you know, I don't know how many people would be totally interested in like a historical, you know, aspect, just talking about the history that I included, but maybe one of the rooms would be made up just like a room from, you know, an important room from one of the books. Yeah, I know, JD, I'm so behind on this. That's a Patreon thing. So yes, that I promised I was going to do those at a time when my health took a tank. So and then I came back. So anyway, I have not forgotten, I promise. But yeah, so like one of the rooms could be made up just like an important room, and there's a number of them in one of the, you know, books. So like, and it's not like super grand, but at the same time, I just think it would be perfect. It would really like put everybody in the ambiance. You remember the stairs from Anatomy? I love that. Yeah. And so we could have like that shadow on the wall of Abigail or something,
Yeah.
you know, that would be really cool. A lot of just some dark ambiance, but some just Victorian, you know, and just enjoying the Victorian period and, you know, infusing my books into the house. I think that would be so much fun. It'd be like you're actually in the houses where these things happen. So that is definitely my dream book event. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
I love it. I love it. So you guys both had ideas that were about people acting out scenes. And I think that's trying to get at like the interactive element. And I've definitely included those things before to try to get people in the audience, like either participating or just more absorbed than listening to or reading, which is great.
Exactly.
Which is super great.
And that's what I was thinking when Christy was describing her event, how that is such an interactive thing, really having people being immersed into the world of these characters. You know, that's really cool. That was really cool.
That is really cool.
Thanks.
And in a historical house, I like that idea. Okay, well done. I think you should have like the soundtrack instead of Hans Zimmer, where like Tracy was. Your soundtrack could be like eerie old house noises.
Yes.
Like the door shutting and the stair creaking.
That would be so much fun. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Like
really, like as people go up.
Yeah.
Scare them. Yeah.
Oh my God. I love it.
That'd be fun.
Okay, so what could be opposite to that? So something that's in a house, interactive. Anyone else have other events where they've gone awry and they've like missed a takeoff and realized that one of those things would have helped?
You know, my first book launch, there's like a historic home district here in Houston in 3rd Ward, and I had it at a house like that. It wasn't even a tie-in for the book. This girl just had a house where she let you do events there, and I just thought it would be cool.
Nice.
But I made the mistake of just stop by if you can type thing. And I had people in and out all day like a museum. I never really accumulated a crowd or a group of people. So it was like 1 and 2 people here and there. When I got ready to read an excerpt, I think I had like 4 people there. So I think it was a mistake to the way that I did it. And I have since learned from that. I don't hold events like that anymore. It was
right.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Concentration.
Yeah.
So just like you want to get like pre-orders and sales in the first week because that like puts you up for awards or like records or whatever, you want to concentrate people for events in like the smallest amount of time so that you get the oomph or the picture with the crowd or the audience can hear you. Yeah, totally. Good point. Good point. All right. Anita or Katie, want to go with their dream book event?
Yeah, well, my dream book event takes place in a haunted Irish castle.
Yes! Finally!
Totally Gothic decor, like candles, and everyone's in period costume, you know, kind of probably more medieval than Victorian, though I could go either way because I write in either history period. And I'd have, you know, the great big book launch banner and this great big oak table where I do my signings. You know, like and then we'd have to have cookies first of all, because if you're on the dark side, you've got to have the cookies. And we'd have drinks and crystal skull goblets.
Oh my gosh, that's a good detail. Yes, yeah. It's like totally horror and fantasy.
Yeah.
Did you hear that, Jeremy? Crystal skull goblets.
And so, and we'd have like sound effects, like a nice banshee scream every so often, scare the creep out of everyone. Because I like banshees. What can I say? I write about them a lot. And then we'd have the castle tour because it's a haunted castle. So you'd have to have a tour of the castle before the event. And so get everybody in the mood. And then we'd go to the book signing, and then to end it all, we'd have a reading, and it would be Hugh Jackman or Henry Cavill. I haven't decided yet. Maybe both of them.
Wait, who's the first one?
Hugh Jackman.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Because Hugh Jackman makes everything better.
Yeah, agree.
And if you've listened to Henry Cavill read the Witcher books on YouTube, that man has a voice that is smooth as butter.
That matches the rest, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we could maybe have him in his full Witcher regalia. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. If you like the wig, the like white hair wig too.
Yeah, well, the wig's okay, but I was thinking more, the leather and the swords and
True.
and I almost forgot. You have to have the piper.
Yeah.
I mean, I would prefer a Scottish piper, but if it's in Ireland, we probably have to have an Irish one. But you can't have a castle event without the bagpipes. I'm just saying.
Would you have bagpipes or would you have an uilleann pipe if you're in Ireland?
No, well, I'm Scottish, so I'd have the bagpipes.
Okay, all right.
I mean, but we have a harp. We could have a harp too. We could have Scottish bagpipes and an Irish harp.
Nice. For those of you who don't know, music buffs who love pipes and don't think that they're like bags of wind that just take up too much space. Bagpipes are the ones that you see with people under their arms and like big things sticking out of it like a turkey. And uilleann pipes are like sideways, smaller, and have that like haunting note. And they're not blow through. Are they blow through? Yeah, they are. They don't have the pipes going back. They have them under their arm. So yeah.
Oh,
They're
if
both
you do the bagpipes
here.
right, you can get the nice haunting song too. But I mean, you have to have a talented piper to do that. I mean, we've got some great pipers in Nova Scotia, and they can really hit the right notes for the haunting lyrical sounds.
Totally. Nice. Music. All right. Well, that is a great like music tapestry to choose from. And we've had Tracy talk about Hans Zimmer, like soundtrack maker, original music, and Christy talk about like creepy noise. Well, I inserted creepy noises into Christy's. Has anyone ever tried music in a way that was like maybe didn't work out or missed opportunity?
I could just advise not to make it too loud, but I haven't I haven't actually experienced that myself.
Not everyone likes the same music, so sometimes what you think you're playing might actually work against what somebody else likes.
True.
It's always hard to gauge music.
Even like dinner parties, playlists are hard, right?
Yeah.
I mean, back when we did that. Yeah. Ooh, that's good. Katie, did you want to do yours? Dream book event?
Okay. So I misinterpreted book event. Instead of being a book event about my book, I interpreted it as like a book event I would want to go to.
Oh,
so,
okay.
I'm a little bit off, but it's what I want to take from things that I've been to before and like use the best of what I've seen. And Combat Con is one of my favorite events to go to every year in Vegas. Ooh. And one of the things that we do at Combat Con is page to stage, where you take a fight scene and you have actors actually act out the fight scene, play by play, and you can tweak it and adjust your scene based on how it actually looks. And it is so much fun to do. So I would definitely have that be one of the events that you can attend. And along with that, because I hate picking and choosing between events, I would want the schedule to allow for those events to replay day by day so that if you missed it one day, you could go another day.
Someone's been to conventions. Yeah.
Like I said, I misinterpreted the thing, but I'm trying to take from what I love about events, because that would make my perfect event. I would want a place that all of the social gathering is in the same room where everyone's got their own vendor booths, so that you're not sending people away. You're keeping people right there so that the interaction is always happening, because that's the most fun going to these events, is actually interacting with people and having those good conversations and sharing ideas. So I would have like a giant bar in the middle so that it would draw people in, so that everyone wants to socialize and congregate where everyone else is when they're not off doing fun classes. So sorry, I misinterpreted it, but I would definitely love to attend events that were way more interactive and allowed for not missing anything just due to scheduling.
Right. Yeah. Hard choices.
I may be aging myself with this comment, but when Katie was talking about how you have the people doing the fight scenes and you can kind of look at it. I don't know if anybody ever watched the Carol Burnett show, but there used to be a skit that she did on there where this person was the author was typing out a scene, and they would be acting it out, and then they would backspace and delete, then they would have to go back and start over. I don't know why that popped into my head. I loved Carol Burnett. I loved that show.
That's fun.
I thought about that.
That's a good reference. And you know what that makes me think of is that like it could be a Victorian parlor game at the beginning at its root, but one of the acting games I remember playing was like you'd have a scene, just an improv scene, and anyone who was not the two people in the scene could yell freeze at the stage, change places with someone in the scene, and then like turn it into something else. So if you had two people acting something out instead of the author, I like that idea, the Carol Burnett idea. But you could also like go on and then like make it twisted or make it like innuendo city, or just like change the path of the narrative. And that was always really fun because you could do it like 5 times and just keep jacking up the story. That'd be fun.
Those kind of improv games are so much fun.
Yeah. Improv games. I'm sure we all love to plan, and we've planned things that just didn't happen. Does anyone have experiences of that? Working at an indie bookstore, I've definitely had events where like people were supposed to come and then they just didn't come. So there's like not much you can do with that. And JD was saying something about rained out and other things happening. Here we go. Record-breaking rain or 2 huge accidents nearby. Yeah, there's like stuff when fate is just messing with you and you can't really do much about it. So
sometimes it errs in your favor though. I went to an event one time where I had said, if there's any spaces on panels, please consider me, thinking I might get on 1 or 2, and I got booked the entire weekend. And I was like, oh, okay, nice. I can do this. It was like scared shitless, but I was like, okay, I'll do it.
And that is where opportunity meets like catastrophe or like fear, right? Totally.
I had one of those classic things happen to me where I was supposed to make a presentation at a writing group. And I had asked ahead of time, like, will you have a computer there so that I can, put up some slides on the screen? They're just mostly for show, but like, so I can have them there. And they said yes. And then when I got there, the person who promised me they would had quit the group. And there was no computer at all. And luckily I have a business minor, so I had thought of this in advance. Thank God. I had printed all my slides and all my notes and just handed them out. But it was like, it was much more awkward because I had nothing. I couldn't just look at the screen for like a cue. I had to be like looking at my notes for a cue. Not that I was reading, but I feel more comfortable just being like this instead of, hold on, where was I? It's like this list that's very tight, tightly like bullet points as opposed to just a couple of things on the screen. So, always bring your own computer. That's the lesson I learned. Just don't trust that any technology will be there.
And if you can get yourself one of those little projectors that you can connect.
Oh yeah.
It's a godsend.
Yeah, even better.
If you have your own equipment, it's always better.
Definitely.
Jess is here. Hello, Jessa. I think this is the first time I've seen you, so this is great. She had a cookbook author who had a book signing and no one came. Yeah, it's out of your hands. Sad though common. You got to push and hustle so much. Very helpful for people who've gone. Yeah, and I was just going to say about the tech thing. I was wondering if there was any correlation between people who are plotters versus pantsers and how they prepare for events. Because for me, it's the opposite. I pants books. I was a discovery writer is the other way to call it. But I plan events, like plan to the detail when I'm traveling and stuff. So I'm like, yeah. But how many of you guys are planners in terms of outlining before you start writing? Nope.
I plan events, but I don't plan books. Yeah.
I have a to-do list, like very loose. Yeah. This is what I want to do, but it's not anything that anybody would consider an actual outline.
Yeah.
For the event or for the book?
For the books. For the events, okay. I'm meticulous. I plan weeks in advance and pack stuff and unpack and repack and make sure I got everything. It's bad. It's like neuroses.
No, it's good. It's good.
Good.
I plan for events now, but my first event, I had nothing planned at all. It was a total disaster.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing. They asked me out of the blue, the people that were, it was his first steampunk thing. They asked me out of the blue, and I had absolutely never done one before, had no idea what I was doing. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a total disaster, but it wasn't as good as it could have been.
Yeah. I will say, like, because my first event was like that, where I was talking about how the people were coming in and out. And I had someone who was doing events and she was pretty successful at it. And she gave me a tip. She said, you need to work in some sort of pricing element. She said, make sure everybody goes home with the book. And since then, every event I've ever had, I have charged for, but the price is really for the book. And then you get like a swag, because even if they've paid $10, $20, people will show up when they pay money.
True.
You know, if they have skin in the game, they're probably going to show up. But if you're just like, oh, stop by, it's this big free thing, they could like, oh, I stayed home to watch Netflix instead.
Right.
But, you know what I'm saying? They'll blow you off. But if they spent $30, oh, she has my money, I'm going to go. I got to go get my book. And then they go and they have a good time, and, you know, you have a crowd there. So that's just it has worked for me. You know, like I said, after someone told me that was a really good piece of advice.
Do you have
That's really
something
smart.
easy that you use to charge for the events though? Because I know like Eventbrite or whatever, they have charging systems, but do you have any other way or an easy way to do that? Because that's one of those scary things to me.
Yeah, I've typically just done it through like PayPal and things like that, because I think for me, they had like the cheapest, because I don't think I've ever charged over like $35 or something like that. And it's I always have like light bites. You get the book because, you know, we can get the book for cost or whatever. So they get a book, and it's always a small group. And when I say small, the most I've ever had, and I cap it intentionally, is like maybe 30 people. So 20 to 30 people, because I just want to get the buzz out, have people who really support what I'm doing, who I know are going to share the information, who are going to tell other people about it. And then again, like you have these pictures and this stuff you can show as part of your promotion as well, to say, okay, I had this book launch and here's, you know, what happened. And then you follow that up with people who are sharing and using hashtags that you create and things like that. So, I mean, I try to make it simple, not something, you know, too crazy. So like I said, something like a PayPal, and I have used Eventbrite. They are a bit more pricey, but you know, I just use a payment system like that.
Yeah, good to know. There's so we considered this. There's a few things going in my head. Sorry if they're going to come out all at once. There's a big book festival here in Portland. It's called the Portland Book Fest. That used to be called Wordstock. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's gotten really big, and they've gotten really big name people, you know, before COVID. And they were doing a thing where you buy a ticket, and it's like you pay. I think you buy a ticket for $10 and $5 of it goes toward a book, but $5 isn't enough to buy a book. So it's just sort of like getting you in, and then you don't want to lose it. And I just went through this process, and my partner for Yola Book Afloat is trying to say this would be a great thing if we could do, because then you have people who are committed to coming. And I was just going, but it's so complicated. It doesn't make sense to my non-mathematical mind. And then I'm like, how do we give them tickets, and do we mail them? And then like, I couldn't deal. But Skylark Bookstore is also doing something similar. They're doing what is essentially a speed dating thing for authors and book clubs on September 14th. And if you go to Skylark's site, I'm sure it'll be very easy to find. But it's like a $10 thing, and you can, it's hosted by the bookstore. So you pay $10 for the ticket, and then you just put your ticket number in to get $10 off on a book on the way out. And that's close to the whole book. So I'm like, that's pretty good. That makes sense to me. But yeah, this sounds like a fun idea. But yeah.
That's a cool idea. I like that.
Yes.
One of the things we do, the shirt that I'm wearing that you can't see is the League of Fantasy Authors, and we group together to go to conventions to make it more affordable, because table fees, it gets expensive, hotel fees and all that. So one of the things we do is we print out our coupons for every event that we go to, and we all agree on the coupon price, how much it's going to be off, and we use those for anybody who stops by our table. We hand out swag bags and the coupons in there to hopefully incentivize them to come back to us.
On another day of the same con, or?
It could be the same day, whenever they actually open the swag bag. And the swag bag usually has bookmarks, maybe a piece of candy or two in there, you know, just little cute stuff. But when you hand somebody a bag full of stuff, they're like, ooh, let me take that. So it's kind of one of the ways that we try and get people to come back to the table.
Good idea. Have you guys done swag bags before? I know we thought about it, but I've never done it.
We've done it for years.
Yeah. I do them at every event, because I put the book in the bag, and like you said, a bookmark and maybe some little personalized thing, or some chips with the book cover on it, or something, you know, like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are on it. Oh my gosh.
I've handed out bookmarks at my book site, at my book reading.
And you get those like dollar store cellophane bags, so they're shiny.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And if you've got like a table that you're working with and everybody puts a little something in there, it looks like a
Oh,
nice
that's a
big
lot.
bag.
That's
True.
a lot. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. And that's, yeah. But it's hard. It's hard when you're the only one doing it. So it's good to, what is that? It sounds like unionize. Almost. I mean,
I'm not gonna lie.
action
I
is where
put
it's
my
at.
kids to work before doing that. I have pictures of
So am I.
everything set out in front of me, and it's like assembly line. This
Yeah.
bag.
There you go.
Exactly. You know, something else I've done, like with the bookmarks or even like a little postcard, it's a good idea, like to put a QR code so that people can go directly, like, because you have some people, like if they, they want to walk around and think about getting your book, maybe put a QR code to where they can purchase it, or, or something like that, or to your website or channel.
Oh
or
yeah,
something.
we
That's good.
not to advertise, but the site that we use is really fast about getting things to you and really cheap. So we can basically, within about a week's turnaround time, you get a big fat stack of 1,000 or so, business cards, postcards, whatever. And it's
Oh, the
easy.
printer.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's really easy to just get the stuff that's going to fill up those swag bags. And then, like I said, dollar store, you get the cellophane bags.
Yeah.
You want to name drop the printer that you use? Is it like Vista or?
No, I use Got Print.
Got Print. Okay.
Print. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're very fast and one of the cheaper ones that I found out there.
Okay.
There we go. All right. Okay, so we've got some common themes here that I'm going to repeat in my dream book event. So mine lasts half a day. I'm going to walk you through this here. I'm also in a historical home, but whose historical home? Sir Walter Scott's. It's called Abbotsford. It's in the Scottish borders. So that is not only like a castle, it's also gardens. So from 4 to 6 p.m., when it's like tea time, people are going to be arriving. I'm going to have a cosplay contest for any of the characters in my series. I'm going to have a cookery contest because I definitely put food in all of my books so that people can feel what it's like to have 1820s food in the UK, and foraging. I'm going to have a VR setup where there are 3 different environments to go through, kind of like a video game, where one is the Glencoe Road that they were walking down and it was very spooky and atmospheric. One is the cozy black house on Mull that they ended up leaving. And one is a hilltop forest before many of the settlers came in Nova Scotia. And so you'd have just like things to find or doors to open and like things to see in the VR. And that would be in the garden area. I'd also have a scavenger hunt. So I'm on the same page as that. And it would be things from the series because like in my mind, this is like the last in the series. So people have some familiarity with the world and the characters. We're selling books during this time. That's like gathering people together. And that's going to not be done by me because I've done that before. And that just like takes all the joy out of all the stuff being the administrator at your own event. So I have assistants for that. And it's through Square, so I don't get 40% taken out of my earnings. So then, let's see. We have the garden rooms. There are hors d'oeuvres everywhere and tea being served, of course. And I've got, let's see, papers set up that have Twitter and Instagram hashtags and backgrounds for people to take pictures in front of that are like big stones or flowers or like outdoor picturesque things, as well as a corner for people from a Facebook fan group to meet up and talk to each other in life because they've talked to each other over Facebook all the time and want to meet in real life. So that would be fun. And then at 6, we transition indoors and we have like either a banqueting room or like lots of chaise lounges. And we'd have a little stage and presentation. There would be like a little lead in from my agent, from my editor, and the head of the fan club, of course. And then I would give a reading from the book, like a dramatic reading, and then finish with a song demonstration. So there would be some like folk culture to weave in and sort of get people involved in that historical time period and art methods that they may not be familiar with. And maybe that'll be some teaching as well, some audience participation. Then I've got, and on that stage, there's a backdrop of the map. So it's not a slideshow, but it's like giving you a little bit of like where we are in the story, showing you Scotland or Nova Scotia. And then after that, we give out the awards for the contests, which are things that also relate to the world that I'm obsessed with and write about. There's going to be a wilderness and foraging course for somebody. There's going to be a textile arts course for somebody. And there's going to be a walking tour on Mull, which is like hiking, which I've been on, which is amazing. So those are all like big prizes. There will also be some for like people who are tweeting and like book winners for the day who are not present, that we'll also announce. And then after all the talking stuff and the awards, there will be a signing line. So people come through. I'm going to have book plates. The book plates will be with silver foil. So it'll be like sparkly and a pretty blue ink pen for me to sign with. And if you're an author who's done an event, you know the thing about the pens is important. And then after that, it's just going to devolve into a dance like every good wedding. So it can start out with like folk dance and like learning how to do stuff in costume, which is if you've been to like a Regency Jane Austen event or, you know, seen those online. I don't know, maybe that's a small group of you, but then it'll sort of devolve into just like pop and like people having a fun time dancing like any wedding does. So that and desserts and a whiskey punch. And I think it'll be a good night. So that is my dream book event.
Sounds like
Sounds
so much
amazing.
fun.
I hope you all can come.
I'm ready to go to each of these for different reasons.
Exactly. And it's
Awesome.
interesting how we all have the idea of things being interactive, you know, going to make sure that the readers can be interactive with the story. Because as authors, it's like you take so much time to create these worlds and these characters, like they're real to us. So you want the reader to experience it the way that you experience. That's
Totally.
That was really cool, Margaret.
Totally. Thank you. Did any of the things that I said trigger anything like memories of like, oh yeah, that went wrong when I tried that thing? Or
Yes, the pen thing. The first event that I ever went to, it was a book festival, and I didn't have a wingman. And I always suggest people bring a wingman for your table. I didn't have a wingman. I went up to do a reading, and by the time I came back, all of my pens had been swiped off my table.
oh no, that's dastardly.
Yeah.
Lame.
It's like, that's it. I've got nothing. They didn't take the books. They took my pens.
Karma, pen stealers. Oh my goodness.
So now I always bring a wingman, somebody to watch the table.
I don't know. Does VR include Sense? I don't think so. I've never done it. I have a nephew who's way into VR, but
Not it eventually will.
yeah.
There was a movie like a long time ago where they had like this scent thing, like they would pipe these scents in, like of popcorn or whatever they were eating on the screen, like garlic, when they had a scene where they were eating a
Oh
chow.
yeah.
Really
Yeah.
because
That's
some of the scents hadn't dissipated before the next scent like kind of came into the room. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I'll have a smelloscope by that time, but that's a good idea. I do like scents. Yeah. What else did I have? So I had also a little list of like the bad like things that didn't go right, or like the practical limitations that we usually have to deal with, and you know why we don't get Halle Berry and Oprah and Hans Zimmer and that kind of stuff. Working at an indie bookstore, most events were like 1 hour. So you had to really like get people in on time, start on time, and you didn't have a lot of milling around time because it was all like staff pay. Like you had to pay for the stuff and all that kind of thing. So that can be dicey to work through. The house event that you did, Tracy, was that a shortened times? You said it was throughout the day and people stopped by. So was that just like because your friend was really generous?
Well,
or?
it was I mean, she rented it out just like if it was an event space. So I think I had it for like 4 hours or something.
Okay.
2 to 6 or something. So that's kind of how I, put it out there. I'm having a book signing from 2 to 6 instead of like being specific about, having a start and end time so people could come when I was, reading the book and that kind of stuff. So.
Oh, okay. So maybe the 1 hour thing is actually a blessing in disguise because it concentrates your audience.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You could miss it if you don't come,
Yeah, which did happen. Yeah, exactly.
Time is important though. And if you're busy, that 1 hour is not enough or 2 hours is not enough. But if there's nobody there, that can feel like an eternity.
Absolutely.
And like, I know like Barnes and
Totally.
Noble will sometimes stick you with a little table right up at the front. So you're essentially
yeah.
the greeter for people.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels, it's kind of embarrassing as people, like, as soon as they see you and they don't know who you are and they don't want to be bothered, like, walk as fast as they
Right.
can by you.
Right. So there's advice to go with that as well, which is like at conventions, at events, at the little table at Barnes & Noble or Waterstones where people are, like, one of the things I always hear is stand up, because like you want to be on the same level with people. And so they'll think that you're not putting any effort in if you're sitting down. So even if it's like 4 hours long, you got to stand while people are watching,
Yep.
which can be rough, which can be really rough. Yeah. Space and parking. None of us mentioned this, but this has been an issue in the past that I've had to think through for the book fair, which is you need to have parking for people, at least in the US, because like that's how people get everywhere. But I mean, if I'm in the Scottish Highlands, I'm just sort of, I don't know, bussing people in? I don't know. But has this ever come up for you guys where you've had to change venues because didn't have parking, didn't have access, didn't have handicap access, didn't have room or something like that? Did it become, no?
I had a venue that I was going to use, but because they didn't have, like, the parking was kind of ridiculous. It was downtown, and her suggestion was, oh, you could just hire a valet. I'm like, who's paying for that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, valets probably go minimum wage because they get paid in tips, right? So for a 2-hour event.
Like, I think she was telling me, like, for the service to have the company come out, like, you know, somebody has to get paid. Like the valets themselves, you know, you can tip them or whatever, but their bosses or the owner of the company, they're going to charge you to set up and to come out.
Got it. Because they're carrying liability for all the cars, I bet. Yeah, more expensive. So JD said, never able to get an event at Barnes & Noble. Super kind. Okay. And he has had crowd impacted because parking was nuts. Yeah. So stuff you don't have control over. Expense or advance awareness contests. Oh, so here's a good point that I wanted to bring up for people. Chrissy and I have both mentioned that we do a great job leading up to an event or a launch, and then often it's afterwards where you're just wiped and you're like, I have nothing left, right? But sometimes it's the advance notice that people are missing. And so seeding the ground, sowing that awareness, if I have any other farm metaphors to use, is really important, because you've heard people need to see something 7 times before they remember. People need to have a friend recommend before they take a risk, all these sort of marketing things. Even people who wish you well, like, they're not going to remember unless they have a post on Instagram and a tweet that day. And like, I think all of us are getting used to working this into our routine of social media / newsletters, email lists, / everything, right? But yeah, anyone want to comment on the advance notice stuff?
I suck.
Automation is your friend.
Oh, talk more about that, please.
Schedule your tweets, schedule your Facebook posts. Take one day, do a whole bunch of bad scheduling. It's over and done. That's what I did today for this event on Twitter.
Do you schedule on a service or do you schedule individual
TweetDeck?
sites?
I just use TweetDeck.
Okay.
The one that comes with Twitter.
Okay.
And Facebook has its own scheduling thing, which is annoying, but it works. Mm-hmm. Well, everything about Facebook is annoying, but we won't get into that.
True. Yeah. I
used to use Hootsuite or whatever it is, but yeah, I don't like that anymore. So I just use the Twitter thing, and I use the IFTTT,
if this and that.
Yeah, that to cross posts from Pinterest to Twitter, and from something, and from my blog, my website to my Facebook page, and so that cuts down on it too. So.
That's good. So I want to have a system like that. And that's one of the things that has been like a tab open on my computer for months. Because at first I had if this, then that, but the 2 accounts I had for Yola Book Afloat and for my own were like cross-wired somehow because of how they like save certificates on my browser. And so I was just like, the wrong things were going, and they were going with no image, and I couldn't stop it. And so for a long time, a fellow author who's like pretty big. He's nice, but he was like calling me out every time he saw one of those, we can't post this image from If This Then That. And I was like, it's not my fault. I can't figure out where it's coming from. Like, oh my God, kill me. But I finally did, and I just needed to give it some space before I came back to try to like set up a new system. But yeah. And I don't use TweetDeck, but I do use Hootsuite, but they just ratcheted back their free version from 20 to 5. You can only put 5 posts up at a time now for free. And I'm like, dude, that's like one day. Like, really? That defeats the purpose of not being on here every day.
Yeah, that's why I switched over to TweetDeck, because you can do as many as you want and it's free.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Yeah, TweetDeck.
I think it's TweetDeck. It's the one that comes with Twitter anyway. So
I didn't know that. I didn't know one came with Twitter. Okay,
or it comes with Twitter. It comes with Google. I don't know. It's there on Google. I just use it.
Got it. Oh, Jeremy, there's one. Once in Denton, Texas, I went to do a poetry reading at a bar, and the event coordinators didn't show up. We poets ended up having to organize it ourselves. Well, at least you weren't alone in the the event. Wow. Yeah, JD saying, wow, here's to going for it. Woohoo! Yes, nerve-wracking. Gosh. That's when it pays to have like multiple people. It's like diversifying risk, right? Yeah. Good point. Good point.
I have a basic one, a very basic one. That everyone here is going to say, of course. And that is bringing more books than you think you're going to need. And the reason I'm saying that is because, like I said, I haven't done any like big book events. What I usually have done is presentations where I do a book signing after. This is a little bit different, but similar in a way. And, this one particular time I had gone, it's the same one I was talking about earlier, where I was presenting to authors. I was talking about editing. And I thought, really, probably not a whole lot of people are going to want to buy my book. They're all authors, who's going to want to buy it? So I brought a certain amount, and actually the first book in my series sold out. And I was like, I should have brought more books. That was so stupid. And I had luckily enough of the second book in the series, and I had like just 2 left over, but I was really, really surprised because just the audience, I just figured they wouldn't be interested. So like never figure they won't be interested. Just always assume everyone's going to want to buy it and bring more than enough.
Yeah. Positive thinking. Totally.
I had the opposite problem. I brought too many books.
Yeah.
I'd rather have too many though than to lose out on sales.
Yeah.
If you've got book series, you end up bringing trunks because you have to bring enough of book 1, and then you have to calculate the rest of the books in the series, how many you can bring to cover it to not run out of those. So you end up bringing just trunks upon trunks of books, the more books you have.
Yep. Who has a trunk that matches their historical aesthetic? It's like
that's
a
cool.
flat number that's not supposed to carry stuff.
That becomes decor though for your table as well.
Exactly. You got it. Yeah. Who has books in their trunk ever present and ready? I mean, not during the pandemic, but I used to. I even went on to. I was doing what was it? It was a foraging / plant herbalism, that's the word I'm looking for, herbalism course about an hour away from Portland, and I would drive down there, and of course I had books in my trunk. So when we were talking around to people and like talking about books and what are my books about, someone bought 3 and I was like, here you go, and here's my square reader, like prepared. So never hurts. Yeah. Play to multiple senses. So we definitely had people talking about music. We had JD weighing in on scents. And we definitely had people talking about food. So yeah, food is usually important at an event. You want to feed people's stomachs so that they're not like drifting in attention away from you.
Aesthetic is good too. The look and the feel, that plays a lot into it as well.
Yeah. So we've got historical, horror, fantasy, contemporary. Tracy, I'm curious, what is the aesthetic for your dream or like more practical, like the next event you would do if we don't have COVID restrictions? What's the aesthetic like for?
I don't know. I know I've been thinking about that. It's like, it's like I almost don't even want to get my heart set on doing something, and then things just blow up again. But usually, like I said, I always have like a use the colors from my book cover to kind of set the decor, whether that's with plates or cups or things that are hanging from the ceiling, the balloons, the streamers, everything kind of matches to tie in to the book cover. And I did do, like, for my last book back in 2019, that was the last time I had an event, and it was a moderated type format. I had a really good friend she's like an actress. She came and she was like the interviewer, and she interviewed me for the book, and then I read an excerpt. So that was really cool, because most of the time it would just be me. I'd invite these ladies, I'd tell them about the book, I read an excerpt, and it's kind of like, y'all have any questions? So I wanted to do something. I even had a book trailer, because I also do book trailers for every book. They had these big TVs in the room, and so I had the trailer playing, kind of going around or whatever.
Nice.
So,
how long is the trailer, by the way?
My trailers are no more than like a couple of minutes, like 2.5 to 3 at the longest. But because I don't want people to kind of, like you said, they start like drifting or not like really paying attention to like what's going on. So I just kind of hit the the high notes of the book.
Nice. You just get someone like Henry Cavill to voice over the trailer.
Precisely.
Yep, I can see it. What about giveaways? So I think we've only got a few minutes left. I usually think this is an important one, but it can also bite you in the butt. So what's your general thoughts on giveaways? Because in mine, I definitely had like contests and awards to get people interacting and then go away with something, so feel happy. Katie was talking about swag bags. What have you done or like learned from on giveaways in the past?
Well, I can say that on virtual events, it's not quite the same, but on virtual events, I always make sure to do a giveaway. And I make sure it's a giveaway of, my book, because believe it or not, I've given away Amazon gift cards before that have just never been used. I don't know why, but the books seem to get claimed. So maybe that's the opposite of what most people experience. I'm not really sure, but I just had I couldn't believe the number that just were never used. It was very surprising to me. So I stick with giving away the books themselves now.
I wonder if it's someone who couldn't figure out like how to access your account balance, and it was like always like paying for things on their card instead of the balance.
You never know. It could be. It was multiple people at different events, so I'm not really sure. But it could be.
Well, sometimes those gift cards don't cross countries either. So if it was someone who got it internationally, they might not have been able to use it.
Or it showed up in spam and they never saw it.
Yeah. You never know.
Anyway, I've had pretty good luck with giveaways, except for one I did for my Fairy Tale Fusion book. I was giving away posters, and Vistaprint sent me a poster that had a big blank white space on it. Not once, but twice.
Yikes.
Yeah. So I actually hand painted over the white space.
Oh my gosh.
And made it look like a big blotch of slime, or because it's a horror fairy tale detective mashup book. So, and I gave them away. I explained to them what happened to everybody, and they were getting the poster plus the hand painting. So people seem to like them, that one. But yeah, that was a real annoying glitch. Just like last minute, I've got these posters that I'm supposed to be giving away, and they're unusable. What the heck am I going to do with them?
Yeah, I mean, there's the idea that the first editions that have typos or errors in them are like more valuable because they're unique or they're a limited edition. It's like, well, not really with indie printing anymore. Like, let's not.
And Vistaprint tried to blame it on me, saying my design must have been flawed, but I used their design in the poster. God. It was like one of their in-house designs. So yeah, that's why I told them, nope, it was your design. Your printer screwed up.
Yeah, bummer. Anything else on giveaways? Well, I don't think we have any questions. I'll put it out there one last time. We've got still a few people watching. Do you have any questions for events, maybe about changing in real life dreams to virtual, because we've all done virtual events, obviously. I'm trying to think, like, giveaways for virtual events. The way the Blaze has done it is like show the book, choose a comment, like a random number generator, ask the person to email you. You put an email out there so that they don't have to, but yours is sort of like public anyway because it's like a company or a business account. And then if they're really interested, they'll email you. And so you're not chasing someone who's not really that interested. So I think that's probably good. Yeah. If
I got lazy with my virtual events and I just throw a reader magnet out there to everybody.
Reader magnet meaning like
like a free book,
digital book. Yeah.
Yeah. I just say, here's the free book. It's your gift. Go download it.
There you go. You don't even have to.
It's like, I don't have to chase you down. If you want it, take it.
There you go. There you go.
I'll just be glad when we can actually do real events again.
Yeah. Yeah. Sent several what on Insta?
I think he means questions. Maybe he private messaged you or something?
Or responding to my story? Let's see. Let's see if I can figure this out. I know how to get to Amazon gift cards, but I may not know how to get to Instagram story questions. Okay, hold on. Someone else like take over for 30 seconds.
Instagram's the bane of my existence.
I
saw you say that.
Yeah, I mean, I should be posting stuff because I'm doing my art now, and I should be posting all these lovely things up there. It's like, oh yeah, forgot to post on Instagram today. Better do that tomorrow. Tomorrow comes. Yep, forgot to post on Instagram today.
You prefer Facebook?
With.
Well, yeah, when you've got Instagram and you got Facebook and you got Twitter and you've got your newsletter and you've got, whatever Discord channels, it's like, okay.
And then you're
one
trying
person
to actually write a book.
Exactly. Right? Edit, revise, cover.
Found it.
Time for it.
Found it. Okay. Thank you, JD. Excellent questions. He's got one here. What's been your experience with gatekeepers at events? Welcoming or cliquey? So what types of gatekeepers do we have? Like at conventions? Like people who are ticket keepers? What are we talking about in terms of gatekeepers?
There's definitely still a little bit of a stigma between traditional authors and indie authors when it comes to event managers and filling for panels or special events. A lot of times they are kind of, oh, you're an indie author. Sorry, we don't do that. So if you don't have somebody like an agent or a PR person kind of glad handing you in a little bit, there is a little bit of a stigma still left on the bigger events, I've noticed.
Right.
It's just harder to get in. You have to do a lot more legwork in terms of networking in person at an event, say 1 year, to make the friends so that the next year you can actually be invited to something.
Right. Good point.
Yeah, our local convention's a little more friendly because they like local content, so they're open to anybody, local authors and things like that. So, and we have a lot of indie bookstores around here too. So,
I like this word, glad handing. I mean, yeah. Good deal. Good deal. Yeah, there's also the gatekeepers of like, not your own event, but for example, I remember applying to HNS to be on a panel. So I was like networking and doing work with other people to put together a proposal and then submit that and then not being accepted. So it was like even with like 4 people and doing all these things, like it just wasn't original enough or on topic, on theme enough, something like that. So, but we don't get feedback for why. So I can't say if it's welcoming or cliquey. It felt cliquey because I got to know. How about that? How about, have you ever been part of a writer retreat? Another good question from JD.
Someday.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, no, never been on a writer retreat. No authors have gone on them, but I've never been on one.
I've been on one. I did one not last summer, 2 summers ago then. I went to the Oregon coast. There's a writing organization here that has a house on the coast, like willed to them. So they basically rent it out to writers who want to go on retreat. And so you get like a cheaper than a motel rate basically. And you have to, it's not cheap if you go by yourself, but if you get more people, it's cheaper. And so I went with a friend and one of her friends who wasn't there the whole time because her husband was like camping nearby. And I was like, whatever. I like the rate the way with 3 people. So it was pretty good. She was working on an animal perspective novel, and I was working on the book I'm still working on. But it was fun. It was nice to have like mostly private time, but then also times that you could come out and chat. And then like the ocean, obviously always there orally. So
did you find that like friends went together or that people went alone and you just kind of all got to know each other?
For the one I went on?
Yeah.
I had to talk to a friend, sign a thing, and pay the writing community before I went. So it was like the 2 of us and her friend. So there were 3 of us. But yeah. But I hear about other things like the historical romance retreat is fairly famous, and like there's other ones where like you can go places.
Yeah, I want to do something like that, but I like want to actually go to write. I need the time away. I don't know that I want to be that social. I would want to be like, I need to be in a room. I need to get stuff out. I need to crank this stuff out. So
like mealtime.
Yeah, like
right.
You need the retreat where they lock you in the room and say, okay, you don't come out until you show me 10 pages.
I need to, like the dog, the kids, the husband. I need to somewhere where I can be focused.
Yeah. Have you been able to do book signings at bigger bookstores? I think he was asking about Barnes & Noble. I've never been at a Barnes & Noble. I've just been at indie bookstores and festivals, conventions. Anyone been at a chain bookstore or no?
I've done Barnes & Noble and I've done indie bookstores. And I think the indie bookstores actually treat you nicer.
Oh, totally.
Barnes & Noble, the 2 times I've done it, one was a group event and the other one was a single solo event. The group event was okay because they created space for it. The solo was like being the greeter right up at the front with the tiny table. It was it was very awkward.
Yeah. And was there like I'm thinking of like the semi-permeable membrane to get across the chain bookstore like process, because that's one of the gatekeeper things is like, unless they have seen that you have a track record of attracting like 50 people at an event, then why would they say yes, I guess?
It wasn't so much that, it was every bookstore had a different person that you talk to. Like, so in my city, there's like 5 different Barnes & Nobles all across the city. So the ones that were in Vegas weren't as willing, whereas the ones in Henderson were a little bit more open. So I ended up befriending the ones from Henderson, and that's how I got in through that way.
Got it.
So it really is just you and the other person. It's that networking angle. If you connect with them just right, then they're willing to, work with you.
Excellent. Final question. JD sent in on Instagram. Have you only done local events or traveled for one? This is a good one. Anyone want to take this?
I have not traveled far.
I did one local event, a book signing, and I traveled across the province to Sherbrooke to do the steampunk event. Nice. And I traveled 2 hours to Halifax to do HalCon for a workshop. So, but that's the extent of my traveling.
Nice.
Yeah, I've never been to California and Arizona. So anywhere I can drive within a few hours is as far as I've gotten so far. I'd like to go further though.
Yeah.
Tracy?
Yeah, I've just been like in the city, like in the outskirts of Houston, in the city and on the outskirts to some of the other neighborhoods, and done a lot of book club type stuff and different women's events and things like that.
How do you get to hook up with those people? Like, if they're not in your ordinary business like crossover, how?
I've actually had people, I know I've heard a couple of you say like about not liking Instagram. That's the only social media I really even like. I barely tweet, and Facebook, I just want to just,
Yeah. I know.
I love Instagram, and I have a lot of people because I'm like, I have a community of people who follow me because of my book reviews that I do on there. And they were the ones who kind of encouraged me, you should do a YouTube channel. And, I'm like wondering if that was a great idea because I already had so much other stuff going on. But I've just had people reach out to me and they're like, hey, would you be interested in doing this thing? You know, so, and I had one lady, I went to there was a store here, the Shrine of the Black Madonna. Like they would have once a month where you could come and get a table and kind of, you know, sell your wares if you're an author, a jewelry maker or whatever. So I did one of those and this lady came and she bought one of my books. She gave it to her mom and her mom had a book club and her mom called me. So, you know, it's like weird how, you know, like you just never know how that one connection could lead to another connection type thing.
Right, right. I just heard a statistic that like because of Facebook's uptake in the internet world, you're only 2.75 degrees away from anyone on Facebook. And I was just like,
it's kind of scary.
It is scary.
Yeah.
I have traveled. So I basically took the advice of having a connection to a place means that you have license to have events there. And so because I wasn't getting into chain bookstores, I was doing things like going to my hometown and having like a holiday book event when I went down to San Luis Obispo. Also, since I've been out in Portland writing, I went back to DC where I have grad school friends and I like set up an event there in a tea shop. So like that was just after the launch. So that was having to be planned long distance in advance and like bring books on a plane. And so that was somewhat complicated, but went well. It was with friends and with people, you know, you can count on. So, yeah. And the hometown one was at the library. So that was nice. The library doesn't let you sell books here in Portland. So it was nice to have the California one let you sell books. Like, yeah. Yeah. So I think we're over time. Sorry, everybody. Thank you so much for coming by and meeting my lovely guests. So be sure to check them out in the description box. Subscribe to their YouTube channels. Horror, fantasy, dragons, contemporary. We've got everything across the board and lovely personalities. So be sure to support them with their future imminent launches. And yeah. Thanks so much for coming. This is super fun.
This
Thanks,
was fun.
everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And we'll see